Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Se Vuelve Podcast. My name is Monica, and I want to thank you for being here. From the title, you can see this is obviously a part 2, so I highly recommend going back, listening to that episode, and then coming back to this one. I will start by saying, unfortunately, I haven't been able to sit down and talk with Diana, so I haven't been able to film with her. But I thought it would be a disservice to kind of leave you without that update. I guess for this week's episode, it's just going to be me telling that story. Now we're going to jump to essentially July 7th. That's the day that we were supposed to go to court. Obviously, we did get our 21-day order of protection granted, but this was for us to get an extension for 2 years. I remember, yes, feeling nervous and just hoping that this would be going by really, really quickly. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. You kind of get scheduled to show up for these things. It's not just you, it's everybody. So a bunch of individuals get scheduled to do their court hearings that day. And then also, if there's any people that kind of show up in the day to get an order of protection granted for that day, they also see them during that time. So we were there early. We kind of sign in that we're there. If you think about what you've seen on like movies or TV, right? There's this big desk all the way to the back. You have the judge on like one side. There's also court clerks and other individuals there as well. There's a sheriff that's kind of monitoring and, making sure things are going okay, right? In front of where we were sitting on these rows of benches. There's also two desks on either side. Kind of when you think about like a trial, right? There's two sides that are there with their lawyers or whatever. These are the two desks and some chairs behind there. And there's also like a podium in the middle of that so that people can go and speak on the microphone to the judge. I hope that helped with the view of how the courtroom was set up. We were sitting on these benches with other people. It's full. Like I said, there's other members sitting out there waiting for their case to be called up. And then there's also lawyers there that are there kind of like representing certain clients as well. I show up with my mom, and then I think Diana was running a little behind, so she showed up a little bit after. The other party that's involved in this order of protection, they also have the possibility to come kind of like fight it or to kind of make a statement on their side of the story, right? The person that we had put the order of protection against was arrested. Me being an observant person, I just kept listening to hear like what's going on. And they were like, oh, this case, my case, and even Diana's case, they're like, the individual has to be brought over, right? And he's in jail. So then when they had spoken to the judge about it, they're like, oh, let's wait a little bit. Let's try to get through some of these other cases before we go to those cases, because let's see if we can kind of get as many people done as possible before like doing that one. We waited almost 2 hours or longer than 2 hours. I just remember just feeling like this is taking so long, and I'm just trying to move on and get out of here because it's a lot. Obviously, like I said, you're hearing other people's cases. When it comes to our turn, they end up bringing our neighbor, and he's in a jumpsuit or whatever, a jail suit, and in shackles, so he's handcuffed. I was trying to not look at him because, if I'm being honest, he scares me. For the last year, doing these weird things, tormenting people, specifically to me, these stalking things. So it's like, do not look at him, but it's hard to not look at him when you are called up, and so is he. I know that both Diana and I were just like, our legs were shaking, and we're just like sitting there just trying to keep it together. Diana gets called up. At that point, he asked for a translator. The translator's in between both of them. The judge read him his rights. Like, you don't really have to say anything. Like, if you don't want to, you don't have to like respond to this. So then they're reading the statement that Diana gave. When they asked if he wanted to say anything, he was like, that's not true. Both me and my mom were just kind of like in disbelief. We were just kind of like, I can't believe he said that. Diana, she kind of showed the video of him being disrespectful to Diana's boyfriend and intimidation and harassing and antagonizing him. And then they asked about the rifle and if she had pictures of it or video of it, because we all had different videos and pictures and whatnot. Diana basically explained to the judge that she didn't have video footage of it because her camera didn't reach out that far. but she did mention that there were witnesses to that. I ended up bringing to the court a couple of photos of what I've saw, and obviously the photo of him with the rifle. And we provided the photo. The judge was hoping for like a video, and Diana was like, "Well, my neighbor witnessed it." Then I have to go up there next to Diana, and I get kind of like sworn in. They asked me like, "What is your statement about the rifle and the rifle pointing?" And I explained basically what I had said in the previous episode of what happened. And I also said that my mom also witnessed it as well. When they asked our neighbor what his response was to it, he basically was like, "That's not true. That was in her imagination." And I just remember being kind of like pissed and taken off guard because I was like, in my imagination, I just literally just said that I witnessed it and so did my mom. By that point, the judge decides that they're going to grant Diana's order of protection extension for 2 more years, and they were going to take him away. But then after her case, it was like my turn. I go up. Now they're reading my statements, which my statements were like from the harassment from Friday, Sunday, and also the Monday stuff, where ultimately he was arrested from that. Once again, he denied it. He denied it and said it wasn't true. So then at that point, it was like my turn to provide my evidence. And I already told him, like, well, you already seen the pictures with the gun, this, that, and Diana's statement. You guys, this is so ridiculous. My mom, who was supposed to kind of be there to be like my witness, ended up having to leave to put more money in like the parking meter because she decided that 2 hours is going to be like more than enough. So she had to go put more money in this like parking meter. And it's funny because even the judge was like laughing, like, "I'm sorry, like we were scheduled at 9. Now it's like 2 hours, 3 hours later. And yeah, we had to refill a parking meter because we weren't thinking that we were going to stay that long." The judge is kind of asking for more proof. Like I said, I mentioned, like, well, you just heard Diana. That was part of my evidence. And then you saw the video, saw the pictures. And then I did say at that point, which we got lucky, that Diana's boyfriend was there. So then we had him be a witness for me. He comes in. He also gets sworn in. He said, "Actually, I'm the guy from the video. I'm Diana's partner. We have a son together. We actually tend to spend a lot of time at Diana's place, but because of him, that kind of has made me not want to go over there because we can't even sit out there without being harassed or threatened." By that point, the judge also decides to extend my order of protection. The judge did specifically talk to me and Diana together again. He said, "I'm granting you this order of protection. This also is not cause for you to go out and to essentially initiate or start shit," right? He also talked to our neighbor and he was just like, "If you see them on the street or somewhere in public, do not engage. Please turn around, this, and that, or whatever," right? Well, he agreed at that point. What else could he do? And then after the judge listens to your case, they give you a stack of paperwork, and that's your paperwork, your proof that this is through the legal system. And if he does something, you do have this like order of protection against him. We're sitting in the benches waiting for our paperwork to be printed, and there was a lady who comes up to us and was like, "I want to speak to you." And we're like, what is this? And we get taken out to like the hallway outside of the courtroom so that we can have this conversation. And she said, "I'm a domestic violence advocate. First, I want to tell you," it just, sorry guys, gave me chills. But she's like, "I just want to tell you first that I believe you." And she referred to us as victims. And it was kind of crazy to hear that because I don't think in my brain I had figured that out or almost like connected that yes, like we were, like something fucked up happened to us, right? And we technically are, right? Or were. And she starts talking to us and explains to us that he has court a couple days later after us. It's the first court, and is asking us if we want to attend just to hear what's going on or what they're gonna say. She did tell us, I did look at his priors and his record, and I don't think he'll get out because of it. He has a lot of like priors and charges. So she explained to us, if you have the time, which Unfortunately, both Diana and I were working that, what was it, Wednesday, Thursday, and we unfortunately would not be able to make it. That was not like a mandatory court session for us to go to. It was interesting to kind of hear these words from this individual and to kind of be validated in our feelings and in the situation that happened. Once our paperwork got printed, the sheriff actually brings that paperwork to us. He was like, I want to speak to you guys. So now we have a second individual that's speaking to us. And so we end up going outside of the courtroom to the main lobby, and then he starts talking with us. He said, I don't think he's going to get out based on the charges. The best thing that I could recommend to you is, if he does, if he's out on the street or he starts engaging, immediately go into your house, hide, call the police. I believe he had also kind of like looked up his record as well. And based on that, he was like, I don't think he'll get out based on that prior record, the charges. I end up explaining to him, and I said, listen, I'm like, we can't say that we're making this stuff up because we are the third neighbors in that neighborhood. But I also mentioned, I said, he had a problem with our other neighbor as well, a fourth neighbor with the dog. His dog almost killed her dog. He also was taken to court because of her. And I don't know if I was trying to kind of make him believe the story or what it was, but I just wanted to let him know this is like a pattern, right? This is a pattern that he's out here harassing, intimidating, scaring people. It's just a pattern of his behavior. And unfortunately, once again, I think there's some sort of like mental illness that he might have, mixing it with the alcohol, because we know he drinks. When this episode releases, it's going to be a month after our initial court hearing for the extension of the order of protection. Also, I want to state that by this month, it'll be officially like 2 months since he's been arrested as well. Something that we weren't expecting to happen. But I think obviously there's enough of a record or charges that's keeping him inside. We have been kind of keeping track of what's happening. We ended up seeing that there might be additional charges that he ended up receiving. At this point, he's in pre-trial. There is another court hearing on the 12th. I keep getting letters that kind of keep me informed and let me know that these court cases are happening. They also say, like, if you want to attend, you're free to attend as well. It's kind of weird because it seems like every single date that has been chosen for court, I have like prior things. Like I said, the last month, I ended up going to work that day, which, mind you, I'm on summer break, but I actually ended up getting some work. And then also for his court that's coming up, I also have a meeting that day for work. At this point, I keep getting people telling me like, oh, I was expecting you to kind of go to this hearing. I'm at the point where I want to move on. I really don't want to think about this. It's, once again, the word to use is traumatizing. I want to be able to do the podcast. I want to be able to focus on myself, my goals. I don't want to keep living in the state of trauma. I don't want to keep living in fear. If I can do it on those court dates that I'm not required to be there, I think that I'm going to choose to do that. And I try not to think about it, but I think at a certain point, unfortunately, there is going to be a moment where I think I will have to show up because his charges are for having the rifle because he didn't have the license for it, and also for pointing the rifle as well, like intimidation. I don't know exactly what the two charges are exactly, like the legal terms for them. So I'm kind of dreading that day that I will have to show up because we know how the legal system works. Obviously, he has a public defendant, so I know that they're going to be trying to fight for him, and I worry about what they're gonna question me. It's a very difficult emotional thing to have to go through. And that's essentially where I'm at today. I don't know if in the future I'm gonna do, essentially by now will be like a part 3 with Diana. I think she's working and she's also going to be going to school. And also with me, it's getting to the time of year where I do tend to get a little bit busier. So maybe stay tuned for that. If not, this is a part of the journey, and maybe hopefully there'll be the last of it. To be determined, to be continued. Obviously, if anything does come up, I'll come here and I'll share it. To kind of conclude, because I did speak to somebody, to a counselor, and I told her that I felt weird being referred to as a victim. And I think it's more because it caught me off guard. And I know that she said, how about you use the word survivor? Even to use that word, it feels weird to me. I was trying to avoid that situation, and to move on from it and to heal from it. I do have to acknowledge it, and I do have to process it as well. I know this is like now 2 weeks in a row that I gave you something that's very heavy. It's hard for me to talk about it because it's an ongoing thing. I share these things because this is the real, true, raw versions of my life. I can't be dismissive of it. My intention is to share stories that hopefully resonate with people, that maybe it provides you with an acknowledgement, something that you can relate to, or even maybe something to learn from. And for now, I will end it there. As always, I just want to say thank you to anyone who tunes in to listen. I would appreciate it if you could leave a review, and would be grateful if you could let me know what information resonated with you. Please follow and share on social media. The pages are at Se Vuelve Podcast, or my personals at Se Vuelve Monica. Once again, thank you so much for listening. Nos vemos pronto. Talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.